Hey friends, welcome to my channel. For anyone new here, hi, I'm Jenna. I love to crochet plushies, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. I am so excited for today's video because it has been one of my most requested videos / tutorials, and I'm super excited to announce that I am finally doing a free video tutorial for, drumroll, my strawberry turtle. And I'm also excited to announce that I've teamed up with Hobbii for this video and will be using Hobbii yarn throughout this tutorial. Hobbii really spoiled me. Look at all this amazing yarn, and I cannot wait to make a strawberry turtle out of it. So with that, let's get into this video. Okay, starting with materials. To make my strawberry turtle, you will need the following: a 5mm hook. You can use any hook size you want. If you use a smaller hook, your turtle will be smaller. If you use a bigger hook, your turtle will be bigger. But for the yarn that we're gonna be using, I recommend using a 5mm hook. Next, you'll need some stitch markers. I think you should grab at least 2 because we will be working in both the front and back loops. Then you'll need a sewing / darning needle. You'll need some polyfill. You'll also need 2 12mm safety eyes, and I'm using these ones. A lot of you ask where I get my safety eyes from, and I get them from Amazon. I will link it down below. I have an entire section of my Amazon storefront just dedicated to eyes. And then lastly, the most important material, yarn. So traditionally for my strawberry turtles, I usually use a hot pink color for the shell and a light pink color for the body, just because I love the look of like the two-toned pinks. But for this tutorial, I'm branching out and I'm actually using a few different colors. So for the shell, you will need 1 skein of a size 6 yarn. And size 6 basically looks like this. It is very plush and thick, but not too thick. This is Hobbii's Honey Bun yarn in the color, and I'll put on the screen what color this is in case you guys want to buy the exact same thing. But I am really excited to try Honey Bun because it's been on my list for so long. I usually use some other different chenille yarns, so I'm excited to finally get my hands on this one and see how it works up. Upon first touch, it is super soft, super plush, and I love how saturated the color is. Like, look at this hot pink color. So pretty. So you'll only need 1 skein of your shell color, and then you'll need 2 skeins of your body color. So the body color that I'm using is, of course, Honey Bun again, and I'll put the color code on the screen. But look how gorgeous this like turquoise blue color is. It's so saturated, and I love that. And I decided to go this route because I looked at these 2 colors together and I thought they just looked really cute together. Like, I think it would make an adorable turtle. And then the last color that we will need is for the strawberry leaves and the stem. So I went ahead and got this like really pretty like forest green color, and you really only need like 1/4 skeins worth because the strawberry leaves and the stem are so little. And then lastly, if you want to add seeds to your shell to make it look even more like a strawberry, I would just suggest grabbing some scrap white yarn. It could be chenille, acrylic, whatever you want. It's totally optional to add the seeds, but I think it is a cute little detail, and you literally probably need like a foot of it. Before we jump into the tutorial, I just wanted to come on and say a few things. First is this tutorial is somewhat beginner friendly, but you will need to know the following stitches, and I will put them all here. I personally won't go over how to do these stitches in this tutorial. This tutorial is mainly just like a high-level overview of how you can crochet your own strawberry turtle using my pattern. Secondly, I wanted to say that it is totally fine for you to sell your finished strawberry turtle plushies. I get a lot of messages asking, hey, is it okay if I sell the finished product? The answer is yes, but I do ask that you please do not copy, redistribute, or resell this pattern as your own. And then lastly, number 3, this video tutorial is free, and I will list all of the steps necessary to create this turtle. But if you do want to have all of these steps in a nice little PDF format, I do sell the PDF version of this pattern on my Etsy, and I'll link it down below if you want to buy the PDF version. But alright, cool, let's get into this tutorial. Alright, so let's begin. grab your body color yarn. So for me, it is this honey bun yarn in this beautiful like turquoise sea glass color. So I'm gonna open it up. So we're gonna start with a magic ring and we're gonna put 6 single crochets into that magic ring. I'm gonna grab a stitch marker and put it in the last stitch of this round, and then we're gonna pull the magic ring tight and close it up. So this is what the end of round 1 looks like. For round 2, we are going to be doing increases into every stitch. So we'll do increase, 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 all the way around. And since we had 6 stitches total, we'll repeat this 6 times. And then again, I want to put the stitch marker in the last stitch of this round so we can keep track. This is what round 2 looks like when you're done. For round 3, we are going to be doing 1 single crochet in our first stitch, followed by an increase in the next stitch, and we're going to repeat this 6 times. Alrighty, and you'll end on an increase and then move my stitch marker over. So this is what the end of round 3 looks like. For round 4, we are going to be doing 2 single crochets followed by an increase, and we'll repeat this 6 times. So I'll do a single crochet in my first stitch, a single crochet in my second stitch, and then an increase in that third stitch. And I'll repeat this all the way around. Alright, so that was the end of round 4, and this is what it's looking like. For round 5, we're going to be doing 3 single crochets followed by an increase. So I'm gonna do a single crochet in this first stitch, a single crochet in this second stitch, a single crochet in this third stitch, and then an increase in that fourth stitch. And we'll repeat this 5 more times. Alright, and that is the end of round 5. We're now going to move on to our last round, round 6. And for this round, we are going to be doing 4 single crochets followed by an increase, and we'll repeat that 6 times. So we're going to do a single crochet in that first stitch, single crochet in that second stitch, single crochet in that third stitch, and single crochet in that fourth stitch. And then in that 5th stitch, we're going to do an increase, and we'll repeat that 5 more times. Alright, so that is the end of round 6. I'm going to remove my stitch marker because we no longer need it. And then if you want, I always usually cut my tail from when we made the magic ring short so it doesn't get in the way. So now we are going to sew the fin together because right now we just have a circle, but if we fold this in half, this is what our fin will look like. And it's important to note that don't fasten off quite yet because we are going to then go under this first stitch right here, which is technically the first stitch of the next round. We're gonna go under that, and then we're gonna go to the other side of our fin and find the stitch right across from the stitch we just went under, and we're gonna go through that as well. So then I'm gonna go put my hook, sometimes it's a little tough. I'm gonna put my hook directly under that stitch. So now it looks like this, and you can see that my hook is under both of these 2 stitches from either side of my fin. And I'm just gonna take my yarn, I'm gonna yarn under and pull it through and then I'm gonna single crochet as normal. And that's how we start sewing the fin closed. So I'm gonna repeat that again, going all the way down the fin. So when you're done, your fin will look like this. It'll be nice and sewn closed, and we are ready now to fasten off. And I like to leave a pretty good length of a tail because we will be using this tail to sew this fin to the turtle later on. So I like to maybe do like 6 inches, and I'll take my scissors, cut it, and we are good. And then I like to just pull my hook through, and there we go. We have one fin done. We'll now want to repeat these same steps to make a second front fin. But I did want to note that for the second front fin, we want to leave a tail that is twice as long as this one. So I would leave a 12-inch tail just because we'll have to sew this tail through the fin, and I'll explain that in the next step. Okay, so I went ahead and crocheted my second front fin, and now we have 2 fins. And as you can see, I left a tail a little bit longer, not quite 12 inches like I told you guys, but feel free to leave a tail double the size as the first one. So when we sew on the fins, I want this outward curve facing outward for every fin. So right now, if I had our turtle head here, I'd want my fins to be facing this way. But as you can see, this fin is fine because the tail is on the right side of the fin, so we are able to sew it directly into the turtle body without a problem. And with this fin, we can also sew it directly into the turtle body because it's on the correct side. But if you notice closely, this fin is flipped over onto the wrong side, and we don't want that. We want this outward band that we created when we single crocheted along the fin to sew it closed. We want that part to be shown on the front side because it's pretty. So to get around this, all we have to do is take our needle and thread it through the tail of this fin, and then all I want to do is poke this needle right on the corner of this fin and feed it all the way through and poke it out on the end. Here we go, on the other side of this fin. And then I'm gonna take my needle, and then I'm gonna gently pull the tail all the way through. I don't wanna pull too tightly because then our fin will bend, but there we go. And I can now take my needle off. So now what we did was we made it so the tail is now on the correct side of the fin. And now when we go ahead and sew on these fins to our turtle, the head will be here and the fins will both be facing the correct way with the curve outward and with the single crochet border on the outside. All right, so now we're done the 2 front fins. We now want to move on and make 2 back fins. Once you make the front fins, the back fins are very easy because it's the same steps essentially as the front fins, but with 1 less step. So we're gonna go ahead and make a magic ring, and we're gonna put 6 single crochet into that magic ring. Now I'm gonna put my stitch marker again on the last stitch and close my magic ring shut. And sometimes it gets a little tough. There we go. Pull her shut. And that is the end of round 1. For round 2, we're going to increase all the way around into every stitch. So we're going to increase a total of 6 times. So here's my first stitch, I'm going to increase. My second stitch, I'm going to increase. And so on and so forth until we get to our stitch marker. All right, move our stitch marker to our last stitch. And this is the end of round 2. For round 3, we're going to be doing 1 single crochet into that first stitch. and then an increase, and we'll repeat this 5 more times. So single crochet, increase, all right, so this is the end of round 3, and as you can see, it's very similar to what we just did for the front fin. So for round 4, we're going to be doing 2 single crochet followed by an increase, and we'll repeat this 5 more times. All right, so this is the end of round 4, and now we will go on to the last round for the back fin, which is round 5, and we're going to be doing 3 single crochet followed by an increase, and we'll repeat that 6 times. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 3 single crochet, increase, and repeat that. All right, and now when we've reached the end, we can go ahead and remove our stitch marker because we are now done with crocheting around. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the tail from my magic ring short so it doesn't get in the way. And similarly to how we closed the front fin, we're gonna do the same for the back fin. So we're gonna keep our hook on, but I'm gonna go ahead and fold the fin in half, and then I'm gonna go under that first stitch on this side of the fin, and I'm gonna go under the first stitch on the other side of the fin, and I'm gonna pull my yarn under and single crochet. And I'll repeat this along the outer portion of the fin to sew the fin closed. And once we've reached the end, like I just did, we're gonna fasten off and leave a pretty long tail for sewing. And then we can go ahead and pull our hook through. And this is what your first back fin will look like. It'll look exactly like your front fin, but a little smaller. Go ahead and repeat the same steps we just did to create another back fin. And similarly to how we did the front fin tail, we wanna leave a longer tail for that second back fin that you make. Okay, so I finished the second back fin, and as you can see, I left a pretty long tail compared to the first one. And if I line up my fins as if I were gonna sew them onto my turtle, we'll put them in the back here. We'll have this one facing outward like this, similarly to how we did with our front fin. And then the back fin here, I would want it like that. But again, we run into that same problem where the tail is on the wrong side of the fin. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my needle again, and I am going to thread it into the back side of this fin. And I'm gonna put it all the way through to the other side of the fin. And then I'm gonna grab that needle and gently pull that tail through. So now the back fin has its tail on the right side, and it is perfectly aligned. And then for reference, I'll grab my front fins to show you guys that this is the little skeleton of our turtle so far. So we have our 2 front fins, our 2 back fins. Next, we'll move on to making the tail and then the head. Similarly to how we made the front fins, the head, we're going to start out with a magic ring, and we're gonna put 6 single crochets into that magic ring. And then I'll put my stitch marker in the last stitch and close up the magic ring. So this is the end of round 1. For round 2, we are going to be doing increased stitches into every single stitch. So you're going to be increasing a total of 6 times since we have 6 stitches. That's the end of round 2. For round 3, we're going to be doing a single crochet followed by an increased stitch, and we'll repeat this a total of 6 times. And that is the end of round 3. For round 4, we're going to be doing 2 single crochet followed by an increased stitch, and we'll repeat this 6 times. All right, that is the end of round 4. And if you haven't already noticed, we're doing the same exact steps we did for the front fin. We're just going to be adding on a few extra steps afterwards. So for round 5, we're going to be doing 3 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, and then an increased stitch. And we'll be doing this 6 times total. All right, so this is the end of round 5. For round 6, we're going to be doing 4 single crochet followed by an increased stitch, and we'll repeat that a total of 6 times. All right, so now this brings us to the end of round 6. This is what our head looks like so far. So now for the next 5 rounds, so rounds 7 through 11, we are just going to be doing 36 single crochets into every stitch around our circle. And we will be doing that for 5 rounds total. So for round 7, I am just simply doing a single crochet into every stitch, and I will be doing a total of 36 stitches. And I will meet you guys at the end of round 11. So I just got done round 11. So I just did 5 rounds of 36 stitches, and this is what my head looks like. So now we can move on to decreasing and finishing up this head. So I'm just going to put my tail inside of the head there. And for round 12, we are going to start decreasing. So I'm going to do 4 single crochet followed by a decrease, and we'll be repeating that 6 times. So I'm going to do single crochet in this first stitch, single crochet in this second stitch, single crochet in this third stitch, single crochet in that fourth stitch, and then for stitches 5 and 6, we are going to decrease. And I like to use the invisible decrease. You don't have to, but I think it does make your plushies look nicer. So I'm gonna go into the front loop of the 5th stitch, yarn under, and then I'm gonna go under the front loop of the 6th stitch, yarn under, and then you have 3 stitches on your hook, and then I'm gonna decrease. And then the last 2 stitches will be your decrease. And then I like to put my stitch marker right there. So that is the end of round 12. Similarly, for round 13, we are going to do 3 single crochet followed by a decrease. So 1, 2, 3, and then we'll do that invisible decrease stitch. And then we'll repeat this 5 more times for a total of 6 times around. All right, so I just finished round 13, and this is what our head looks like. It's getting smaller. And now for the last round of this head, we are going to be doing 2 single crochet followed by a decrease. And that is for round 14, which is the last round of this head. All right, I'm coming up to my last decrease stitch. I can take off my stitch marker because we are now done the head. And then I like to leave a really long tail because we are going to be using this tail to sew on our head later. Then I'll pull my hook through, and this is our finished head. We'll still be using this turquoise color for the tail. It'll be the same color as our fins, our head, and the underbody of our turtle. And we will start out by doing a magic ring and putting 4 single crochets into that magic ring. And then I'll put a stitch marker on that last stitch, and I'll go ahead and close up my magic ring. All right, this is the end of round 1. Round 2, I'm going to be doing an increase into every stitch. So we're going to be increasing 4 times. So that is the end of round 2. And for the next 3 rounds, so for rounds 3, 4, and 5, we are simply just going to be crocheting around our circle. So we'll be doing a total of 8 single crochets. And we'll repeat this for the next 3 rounds. All right, let me put my stitch marker on the end. So this is the end of round 3. And as you can see, our little tail is forming. I'm gonna go ahead and repeat this 2 more times, and then I'll meet you guys back here. All right, I just got done round 5, and we are now done our tail. As you can see, it's a cute little tail. I am now gonna just cut my yarn. You can leave a pretty good length tail, and then also keep your original tail from your magic ring, because we can also use this tail for sewing. And then go ahead and pull your hook through. So we are now done the tail. Bringing back our turtle skeleton, we now have almost all of the pieces we need. So similar to the fins, we are going to start out with a magic ring, but this time we're going to be putting 8 single crochets into this magic ring. And then I'm going to put my stitch marker in the last stitch and go ahead and close up the ring. All right, so this brings us to the end of round 1. For round 2, I am going to be increasing in every stitch around our circle, so I'll be increasing a total of 8 times. All right, so this is what the end of round 2 looks like. For round 3, I'm going to be doing a single crochet followed by an increase. And I'm going to repeat that 7 more times. All right, and that brings us to the end of round 3. And this is what our shell looks like so far. For round 4, we are going to do 3 single crochets followed by an increase, and we're going to repeat that a total of 8 times. So I'm going to go in 1, 2, 3, increase, and then I'm going to go ahead and repeat this 7 more times. All right, and that brings us to the end of round 4. For round 5, we are going to be doing a single crochet into that first stitch, followed by an increase into the second stitch. And then we're going to be doing 4 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, then an increase. And we're going to be repeating this 4 more times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. And once you're done that last increase, you should be left with 3 stitches, and we're just gonna single crochet into the last 3 stitches. And that is the end of round 5. For round 6, we are going to be doing 5 single crochet followed by an increase, and we're gonna repeat that a total of 6 times. All right, and that brings us to the end of round 6. For round 7, we're going to be doing 2 single crochet, so 1, 2, followed by an increase. And then we're going to be doing 6 single crochet, followed by an increase, and we're going to be repeating that for a total of 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, increase, and I'm gonna do that again 4 more times. And when I'm done my last increase, I am left with 4 last stitches, and I'm gonna just do a single crochet into each of these 4 stitches. All right, and that closes out round 7. Okay, next we're gonna be doing 3 rounds where we are just going to do a single crochet into each of these stitches. So we'll do 48 single crochet around our shell. And we'll be doing this for 3 rounds, so rounds 8 through 10. I'll see you guys back here after we are finishing up round 10. All right, so I just got done round 10. So our shell is looking like this. For round 11, we will be working in the front loops only. And if you look at your stitches, you have the V, and the front loop will always be the one closest to you, and the back loop here will be the one furthest away from you. That's how I remember. So we will be working in the front loops only during round 11, and I like to take a stitch marker at this point, and I'm going to put it in the back loop of the first stitch of the round. So this stitch right here, I'm gonna be putting my stitch marker into the back loop, just because we will be coming back and working into the back loops of this round in the future. So it's just easier to identify if we put a stitch marker there. But all right, for round 11, we will be working in the front loops, and we will just be crocheting 48 times around. And it's also important to note that we will be color changing, so do not complete the last stitch of this round because we want to change colors. So I will meet up with you guys when we are on the last stitch. All right, so I'm going to go under the last stitch. I'm going into the front loop only and pulling my yarn through. And now I am just gonna leave my yarn like this. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut off this hot pink color because we are done with it now. And I want to color change to the body color. So go ahead and grab your body color. For me, it's the turquoise color. And I am going to simply pull this yarn under these 2 stitches to complete the single crochet. And that is essentially how you color change. And I'm just gonna tie a knot to secure. And then I'm going to move my stitch marker to this last stitch, and that is now the end of round 11. And as you can see, by working in the front loops, we have that little bulge to signify the turtle shell. So now moving on to round 12, we are going to be single crocheting all the way around the shell again, so for a total of 48 single crochets, but we are going to be single crocheting directly into the back loop of round 10, and that's where we put that stitch marker. So go ahead and identify that stitch marker, identify the first back loop that we will be working in, and I am going to single crochet. And now once I completed that single crochet, I'm going to remove my stitch marker, and now I am just going to continue working in the back loop of round 10 all the way around for a total of 48 single crochet, and I will meet you guys at the end of this round. All right, I just finished round 12, and now I have 48 single crochet all the way around, and I'm just going to move my stitch marker to the last stitch of this round, and we are good to proceed. So next we have round 13, and this round is a little tricky. This is where we'll be making the little gaps where we will later on sew our fins and tail into. So I'm gonna try and go slow. And remember, at any point, if this tutorial goes too fast for you, you can always change the speed on your YouTube video player to go extra slow. That's usually what I did when I first started crocheting and I was watching video tutorials. But okay. For round 13, we're gonna start off by doing 5 single crochet, 3, 4, 5, and then we are gonna chain 4. So after you chain 4, we're gonna skip 4 stitches down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're gonna skip these 4, and then in this 5th stitch right here, we are gonna single crochet, and that counts as 1, and we're gonna do 7 more single crochets for a total of 8. So we just did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And as you can see back here, the 4 chain stitches we did and the 4 stitches we skipped created this nice little gap, and that's where our fins will go. But okay, so now after we single crocheted 8, we are going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So after we chain 3, we're gonna skip 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then in this next stitch right here, we're gonna single crochet into that. 1, and we're gonna do 2 more. 1, 2. And now we're gonna chain 2. And then we're gonna skip 2, so 1, 2. And then in this next stitch right here, we're gonna single crochet 1. And we're gonna do 2 more. 1, 2. And now we're gonna chain 3. 1, 2, 3. We're gonna skip 3, so skip this one, and skip this one. In this next stitch, we're gonna single crochet 1. And now we're gonna single crochet for 7 more stitches for a total of 8. So we just did 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we're gonna chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're gonna skip 4 down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then in this next stitch, we're gonna single crochet. And then we're gonna single crochet 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. And okay, that is the end of round 13. So as you can see, we just made 5 little holes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that is where we will be putting our fins and tail into. But we won't be sewing them in yet. Let's move on to round 14. So round 14, we will be doing 6 single crochet followed by a decrease, and we'll be repeating this 6 times. And we will be single crocheting and decreasing directly into these chain stitches as it comes up. So let me show you. So let's start out by doing 6 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now it looks like this 6th single crochet is going into my chain stitch. So I'm going to go right into this chain to make the 6th one. 6, and then we're gonna decrease. So again, going into the chain, I am going to put my hook through the chain and then put my hook through the next chain and then decrease. And then we have 1 more chain left, so we're gonna start over the sequence of doing 1 single crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, decrease, and I'm just gonna keep doing this all the way around. And then I am doing my last decrease of the round, moving my stitch marker, and there we have it. That is round 14. And this is what your body should look like so far. Very cute. All right, for round 15, we are doing pretty much the same thing, except now we are doing 5 single crochet followed by a decrease, and we're doing that for 6 times. Decrease. And at least for this round, we don't have any chain stitches to worry about that we have to crochet directly into. So you're just good to go around and continue doing the sequence. And then I'm coming up to my last decrease of this round. And there we go. That is the end of round 15. So now we're gonna take a pause and we're gonna go ahead and sew on the fins and tail. So I'm going to make sure I pull my hook out pretty big so my work doesn't start unraveling. And now go ahead and grab your fins. We'll start with the front fins. So grab your 2 front fins, and I'm gonna actually pull the camera out a little so there's more room to show you guys. But okay, so what I like to do is first I like to flip the shell over, and the front of the shell will have this little crisscross. So I know that's the front with the little crisscross. And then you find your 2 little gaps that we made on either side, and that's where we will be sewing these front fins into. And remember, we want the outer part of the fin to be facing outwards. So this will be what the composition will look like. So I know this fin will have to go into this gap so it will face the correct way, and then same thing with this fin. So once you identified which fin should go into which gap, we are good to go sew. So go ahead and grab your needle, and I'm gonna grab this fin first. Thread your yarn through the needle, and then I'm going to poke this needle through this gap for starters. And that way the fin can start poking into that gap. And then what I want to do from the inside, I want to take a little bit of that fin and pull it within the shell so it's kind of poking in like this. And then you can hold this in place and kind of see how it will look on the outside. And yeah, I think that looks good. So then using your tail, I am going to start weaving this tail in between the fin and the body right here. So I like to start at the corner, and I'm gonna poke my needle through both the fin and the body and start sewing. And here I go again, I'm poking the body first, and then I'm poking it through the fin. And we just continue sewing it all around so the fin is nice and secure. I get a lot of questions from you guys in terms of how to sew the fins on. So I hope this visual tutorial helps you guys a lot, because it's a little hard to explain over, you know, words. So this is good. And then when you're done, I just like to pull my thread through, and then it should look something like this. And then I like to go back to the area we just sewed and make sure there's no like holes and that the fin is really secure. And it looks like it is. So now we can go ahead and repeat that same step with the second front fin. So I'm gonna go ahead, thread my needle through the other front fin hole of the turtle, push it through a little so a bit is peeking in like that. And then I'm going to thread my needle through both the body and the fin. And I'm just gonna keep sewing all the way around so my fin is nice and secure. And I like to go in and out a few times to make sure there's no holes or anything and that everything looks good. And then let me check, make sure there's no holes. It doesn't look like there is. And then here is what it looks like when you have the 2 front fins sewn on. And it's so cute. Now what I like to do is use any leftover tails from inside. I don't like to cut them just yet. For extra security, I like to tie these 2 front fin tails together into a knot. That way it's just even more secure, and I just will leave it like that. And okay, let's repeat this process for the back fins. So here are my 2 back fins. I'm gonna flip the turtle over so it's facing the right way. This is our front. So we have the 2 front fins like that. So that means the 2 back fins, I will want this one to match with this one with the curve facing outwards. And then same with this one, the curve will face outwards. And now that I know where the fins need to be, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my needle and let's sew on this first back fin. Poke it through the gap and then go ahead and sew in between the body and the fin using that tail to secure the fin in place. Okay, so this one is done. And as you can see, the front fin and the back fin match in terms of its orientation. Both that outward part is facing the same way. It should be facing towards the head that is gonna go up here. And then let's just repeat this real quick with the other back fin. All right, so the 2 back fins are on now, and then again, I just like, for extra security, I'm gonna tie the 2 ends of these tails together with inside the turtle. And then the last thing we have to sew is the tail. So go ahead and grab your tail and thread your needle through it. And the tail will go in that last little gap that we made, and it's pretty small, so kind of wiggle the tail through that small opening that we made. And then I just like to have it where it's poking out a bit inside, and it makes it easier to sew. And then we're just gonna sew it the same way we sewed the fins. So I'm gonna take some pieces of the body and bring it up through the tail with my needle and just sew it securely on. And then just double check there's no holes, the tail is good, and yeah, it looks good. And now there's a bunch of strings in here, so go ahead and cut any excess strings away just to clean up the inside of the turtle a bit more. And now we are good to resume crocheting around the body and closing it up. Okay, for round 16, we are just gonna do 4 single crochet followed by a decrease, and we're gonna repeat this 6 times. All right, and that is the end of round 16. For round 17, we are going to do 3 single crochet followed by a decrease, and we're gonna repeat that a total of 6 times. For round 18, we're gonna do 2 single crochet followed by a decrease, and we're going to repeat that 6 times. All right, I like to stop here and start stuffing the turtle. So go ahead and grab some polyfill and let's start stuffing our turtle. And I like to have a lot of stuffing in this turtle just so the shell looks really nice and full. So definitely stuff generously. All right, it's looking good. And then we can stuff right before we close up, but let's continue on to round 19. Round 19, we're just gonna do 1 single crochet followed by a decrease, and we're gonna repeat that 6 times. All right, that is the end of round 19, and now we have 1 more round left, so let's finish stuffing. All right, I like to flip my turtle over and see. Oh yeah, she looks good. And then the last round is round 20, and we're just gonna do 6 decreases all the way around. And then we are good to cut our tail. I like to leave maybe like a 6-inch tail. Then go ahead and pull your hook out. Take your stitch marker off. And now let's take our needle and thread our tail through, and we're going to be doing this cinch closure. So I am going to just weave my needle through the front loops of this last round that we just did. So weave it through the front loops of every stitch of round 20. And then we're just gonna gently pull on the tail to close that last hole of the body. And then let's go ahead and weave our tail through the body to secure the tail. So this is what the finished body of the turtle should look like. And look how cute the little shell is. I love it. But okay, let's move on to making the strawberry top. All right, so go ahead and grab your yarn that you would like to use for the strawberry top. I am just using this nice like forest green color from Hobbie's Honey Bun Yarn. We are going to be doing 6 single crochet into a magic ring. All right, so that is the end of round 1. So now for round 2, we are going to chain 3. So don't even bother closing your magic ring and going into this first stitch. We are just going to chain 3. And now in the second chain from your hook, so not this chain, but this one, we are going to do a single crochet. And then we're going to do another single crochet in that last chain. Alright, so now it looks like this. And now in that first stitch of our magic ring, we are going to slip stitch right into there. Just like that. And that is our first leaf. Now we're going to repeat this process 5 more times. So I'm chaining 3 again. In the second chain from the hook, I'm going to single crochet into that, and then single crochet into that last chain, and then slip stitch directly into the next stitch of our magic ring. And then by the end of this, we should have 6 leaves total. Alright, and now I'm on my last leaf, and I am going to slip stitch directly into that last stitch and remove my stitch marker. And then you can go ahead and cut a long tail and pull your hook through. So now our strawberry leaf looks like that, and I just went ahead and put that other tail into the back, so now both tails are just in the back of our leaf. So there's one portion of it done, and now we need to make the little stem part. So in a magic ring, let's put 4 single crochet. And now for the next 2 rounds, we are just going to be doing 4 single crochet around. So this is round 2, I'm just doing 4 single crochet around. And then we can go ahead and pop this out a little so it's easier. And then for the last round, I'm just doing 4 single crochet around. All right, and then I can go ahead and leave a longish tail and pull my hook through. And this is our little strawberry stem. So now let's go ahead and grab our leaf from earlier, and now we're just going to sew this stem onto our leaf. So go ahead and take one of the tails of your stem, thread it through your needle, and then I am just going to poke the needle through the center of the leaves and pull it through. So now I have my stem right there in the center, and then I'm just going to weave this tail in and out between the stem and the leaves to secure the stem in place. And I like to do this a few times to make sure the stem is really secure. And I think this will be the last. So there we go. I just got done sewing that, and it will look like this. And then as you can see, I have another little tail from my stem from the magic ring we created. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take my needle, thread it through towards the back of the leaves, and there we go. So now all of our tails are on the end of our leaves. And now at this point, you really don't need all of these tails. So I like to identify the longest tails that are left. So it's this one and this one. So I'll keep these because we'll need these to sew this onto our turtle shell. But then these other 2 shorter tails, we can just tie a knot. Okay, and then yeah, you're good to just cut these off. Perfect. All right, so this is again what our stem looks like and our leaves. And now we're at that point where we are ready to put this little topper onto our strawberry turtle. So go ahead and grab your finished strawberry turtle shell. And let me pull the camera out a little. Okay, so we are now going to sew the leaves right onto our turtle, and I like to find the magic ring that we made during our shell process, which is right here. It's a nice little signal of where the center of the shell is. So then I'm gonna put my topper right there on the center of the magic ring, and then I'm gonna take one of those long tails thread my needle through it and then sew the topper directly onto the shell. And I'm just gonna do that by weaving in and out between the shell and the leaves. And I like to go into each of the little leaves and weave my tail in and out between there so it is nice and secure. So I'll go ahead and do that for each of the 6 leaves. And then once I'm done, I'm just gonna bring the tail out here into a random spot of my shell. And then I'm gonna bring the other tail that I didn't really use. I'm gonna thread it through the leaf one time and meet up with that other tail on the shell. There we go. And that way I can just tie a knot here to secure the topper. And then I'm gonna cut it off, cut the excess off, and then using like another thicker needle, I'm just gonna poke the end of that strawberry stem tail in my shell to hide it. All right, and there we go. So now we have our strawberry topper on our strawberry turtle shell, and it is looking super cute. Let's go ahead and sew on our head. All right, so let's grab your 12mm safety eyes. We'll need 2 of them. And then go ahead and grab your finished turtle head. And now what I like to do is I like to fold it in half like this, because then I can clearly see the magic ring that we created. And then I like to place my eyes between rounds 5 and 6. So I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this round would be 6. So I'm gonna put my eye right here. And I like folding the head in half like this because I know this will be pretty like centered, if that makes sense. And then I like to then take my other safety eye and use this in between space between the rounds as a guide. And I'm just gonna follow this little crevice all the way over to the other side of the turtle, stick my eye through, and that way you have a pretty even placement for your eyes. And then it's important to note that the side where your tail is still attached, I use that as like the top of the head. So that's just another thing to note when placing your eyes. I always use the top of the head as a guide for placement. And then go ahead and secure your eyes with the washers. And from inside, I'm gonna secure that. Secure this one. All right, and there we go. If we pop our head out now, it looks like this. And then of course, it's an optional step, but also a very cute step. If you wanna add blush, go ahead and grab some scrap yarn, and I'm gonna use the same color yarn that I did for the shell. I feel like that's a really cute contrast. And let me just cut, you don't need that much honestly, but maybe cut like 6 inches of the scrap yarn, and you'll need 2 pieces for 2 blushes. A lot of you ask me, how do I put my blush on? So I'll show you guys. Go ahead and just thread your needle with the blush that you selected, and then we're gonna come right under the eye. And as you can see, if I go right under the eye like this, I just wanna make sure it's straight. But yeah, this is how I like to do it. So I'll take my needle, go under these 2 stitches directly under the eye, and pull my blush through. And then using where I entered here originally, I'm gonna put my needle under again. So that creates the first line of blush. And then my personal preference is to do this twice, so it's like a double banded blush. And then I'll just do it one more time to show you guys. So I like that look. I like the 2 line blush, but if you prefer one, that's totally fine. Just do it once. And yeah, that's how I add my blush. And then I like to go inside the turtle and pull each side of the blush out, so then I can just tie it securely from the inside. And then the end result will look like this. And sometimes you have a little bit of the fluffies poking out, so I just go ahead and poke them in with my needle. But yeah, super cute. And I'm just gonna repeat this for the other side. All right, so there's the finished turtle with the blush. And then sometimes the fluffies get on it, so just make sure everything's clean. And then I think we are good now to stuff the head. So let's go grab some stuffing. And just like the turtle itself, I like to stuff the head pretty generously, so it's nice and plump. And sometimes with the stuffing, you have to kind of massage the head because sometimes the head will look a little lopsided. So just go ahead and shape it a little with your hands. And there we go. We are now ready to sew the head onto our turtle. Now, usually when I sew that head on, it is a little bit difficult to make sure it is straight. So if you have any knitting needles or any like chopsticks or anything like that is long that you can basically use to stabilize the head of your turtle for sewing, I definitely recommend grabbing that. So I personally have these just like wooden knitting needles, and I'm going to go ahead and take my head and I am going to, wait, let me pull the camera up. And I'm going to align the top of the head. So we want to align this center right here, top of the head, with this X of the turtle shell, because then it'll look like this essentially. And I know some people like to have the head like sewn onto the shell, but just my personal preference, I like it right below the shell. So once I see the placement, I'm gonna go ahead and take my knitting needle and I'm gonna like place it through the head into the body so it holds it in place. And as you can see, the knitting needle is really, really helpful because now when I sew the head onto the body, I don't really have to worry about it coming undone or like dislodging into the wrong area. It's really nice for stabilization. And then I'm gonna go ahead and use the other knitting needle, poke it through the turtle. That way I have extra security. And now I feel good and I can go ahead and take the tail of the head that we had from earlier, thread it through my needle. I'm just gonna start sewing the head directly onto the body. And yeah, I usually start from up here, and like I said earlier, I like to go right under the shell. So go right under the shell, pull it through, and right under the shell, pull it through. And then, yeah, I just go stitch by stitch basically of the head and just pull up a little bit of the body into the head, and that way it is nice and sewn. Sometimes I don't like to. And then you can take out the knitting needles as needed and put it in a different part of the head. But there you go. And I feel once I get to this side of the head that's left, I'm pretty good to remove the knitting needle, and the head is basically on straight at this point, which is good. And then I go ahead and just finish sewing. And then this looks like the finished turtle. The last part that is totally optional, but it is definitely a cute little add. We're gonna add the little seeds around the shell. All right, so to add the white seeds, just go ahead and grab some like scrap white yarn. You really don't need that much. And then we're gonna go ahead and thread the yarn through our needle. We're gonna essentially make 6 seeds because there are 6 leaves to our little strawberry. And I like to use the leaves as a guide. So let's start with this leaf right here. If I go down 1, 2, 3 rows of the shell, I'm gonna go ahead and stick my needle right there. I like to space the seed around 2 stitches. So go ahead and thread the yarn through, and this will be seed number 1. And just kind of similar to the blush, go ahead and thread it through once to create the seed. And it's just like that. So that's the first little seed we have. And then I'm just gonna continue and take thread again. I'm gonna go under so you can't see on the shell itself, and then poke it over here to the next leaf. And then I'm gonna repeat this process and bring it through. And then I'm gonna go ahead and go right on over to the next seed.
or to the next leaf, and pull it through. And then pull it over to the next. And we're just gonna repeat this for every leaf for our strawberry. So there'll be 6 total seeds. And then, since this is our last little seed, I'm just gonna thread it all the way back over to where we started. That way I can tie it off in a nice little knot. And then let's tie it. And then go ahead and cut the excess. And then use your little thicker needle to poke it through. And there we go. That's how I add the little seed details to our little strawberry.
But alright, that is the end of today's tutorial. I hope you guys love your strawberry turtle. It was super fun filming this for you, and if you guys have any other questions, feel free to drop them down below. Thank you so much again to Hobbii for sponsoring today's video. I will link all of the yarn that I used for this turtle down below in the description. And yeah, I think that wraps up today's video. So thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye!